Hi, everybody. Hello. Wow, we have a lot of people joining us today. How's it going? I hope you guys can hear me. If you guys can hear me, just go ahead and put a little wave on the chat. Oh, all you guys can hear me. Okay, great. Hi. Hi, Maria. Hi, Sarah, Julio, Kelsey, Laura, Debbie. Hi, everybody. Yay, so many people. Yeah, feel free to let me know where you guys are tuning in from too. Oh, actually, okay. I saw that your question was you couldn't hear, but yeah, if you guys can't hear, just turn up your volume. I think that should probably fix it, but from Slidell, nice, cool. Let's see who we have here. We have people from France. Oh my goodness. Arizona, New York, Denver, South America, Uruguay. Okay, cool. Susie May from LA. I'm from LA too. Cool. We're based in Austin. Also, maybe give a thumbs up if this is your first webinar. I know we have over 2,000 people that registered for this webinar. So we're probably going to see a lot of new faces. We're really excited for all of you guys to join us. And hopefully this webinar will teach you a new thing or two about Instagram, the algorithm. I know that we all are pretty much annoyed by it, but hopefully at the end of this webinar, you'll have a different sentiment and you're not so resentful as some of us have been. But oh my God, we have people from Hawaii, first timer, yay, Vancouver. Oh my goodness. So many new people. Yay, I'm so glad that you guys are joining us. So for those of you who are new, we do webinars every last Tuesday of the month. We started to do these in January, so this is our 5th one, and are always open to hearing your suggestions of what you want us to teach. So feel free to put them in the comments of what you want us to cover. Previously, we've done a few webinars on our new app, Stories Edit. It's our new product, which is available on iOS and Android and web, which allows you to create beautiful templates for your Instagram stories. But we've also dived into creating, branding yourself on Instagram. We used to do these on IGTV before. So doing these more, an hour long on Zoom where I can see all your guys' questions and everything and make it a little bit more interactive has definitely been fun. Because when we used to do them on IGTV, if you ever tuned into those before, they were 15 minutes and we tried to cram everything within 15 to 20 minutes. So we have people from Mexico, Spain, Germany. Oh my God, we have people worldwide. Kelly, are the previous seminars anywhere that we can go back and view them? Yes, so you can go. So for everybody, if you can't stay with us for the full hour, there will be a replay on Friday on our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube and type in Planoly. Actually, let me just get the link for you guys and put it in here. Yeah, if you go to youtube.com/Planoly, you can subscribe to us and then the webinar will be up there for you guys. Let's see. Subscribe. So yeah, you can see all of our previous webinars there. You can see all of our tutorials, anything that you might have any questions about Planoly. We have probably covered it on our YouTube channel, and if not, let us know. We can probably make a video about it and then put it as a video. So hopefully that helps, Kelly. Cool. Let's see if we, and Jennifer, like I mentioned, we don't necessarily archive them. We are recording right now, so we will be posting them on YouTube on Friday. So be sure to pay attention, keep an eye out for that. The email that will be sent tomorrow will have a link to that and everything if you didn't get it already. But just go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube. You will see it there, this video webinar up on Friday. So, yay, great. Oh my God, we have over 600 people. ton, and I think the numbers just like keeps going up. So yay! And if you're tuning in late, don't worry. There will be a replay, so we'll be all good. All right, so we'll just go ahead and dive into this. Wait a second. Let's share screen now. Cool. And let me know if you guys, actually raise your hand if you can see my screen. Perfect. Great. Awesome. Yay. Let me see if I can clear this out. So all of you guys are raising your hands. Okay, great. Awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about the Instagram algorithms. For those of you who are new or aren't familiar with Planoly, I'm Priscilla. I'm the brand partnerships manager here at Planoly. I usually host all of these webinars every month. And again, if there's any topics that you guys would like for us to cover, let us know. We're always looking for new ideas, especially stuff that you guys really want to know. We'll definitely try to see if that's something that we can do next month or in the coming webinars. We do these every month. But today we'll be covering the Instagram algorithm, understanding it and breaking it down so that way you can have a little bit less and, you know, help create better content for your brand. So we'll go ahead and start off with a little, just a question. What are your feelings on the algorithm? I really want to know. What are some of your perceptions? What are some of like the things that you've done to kind of like beat the algorithm? I'm really curious to know where everybody feels, or like what's your sentiment about it? Like, do you hate it? Do you feel like it's something that you can work with? Let me know. I really love to hear your answers. Let's see if I can get into the chat. All right. Sorry, trying to get to my screen. Okay. Let's see. So many answers. All right. Hate it, discouraged, confused. It's crazy. I don't know anything about it. I don't understand how it works. I've been told it's both real and not real. It's real. It's something like the algorithm. Instagram has the algorithm to help curate content for you. And we'll be diving this, all the information that we'll be talking about is from Instagram, how they've set out their algorithm to be. So yes, it's 100% real. It's not fake or anything. One thing, somebody had emailed me, and I don't know if you're here, about shadow banning, something like that. That's not real. That's not something that Instagram does. The algorithm, though, that's probably what's making your content be a little bit harder to be shown, but we'll dive into what the algorithm actually does to your content and how it, from the perception of a user, how content is fed to them through the algorithm. The timeline is crazy. It feels like a game. I agree. 100%. I have no idea how it even works. Hate it. I miss seeing posts from accounts I love and my posts get lost. Hate it. Oh my God. Just no good things whatsoever. Timeline is weird. I hate that we only see posts from people we interact with the most. How we're supposed to make our way through. And okay, Kristen, I totally see that, and that's kind of how the algorithm works. We'll dive into relationships. Instagram is going to feed content to you based on the relationships you have. So that's how it prioritizes content. We'll dive into that, but it definitely prioritizes people who you interact with the most. I feel like it keeps changing, can't keep up. Ooh, lost everything. It's manipulative, don't know how it works, confused, not a huge fan, hate it, don't understand it, mixed feelings, super inconsistent, frustrated, slightly confused, hate it, frustrated, confusing algorithm, post consistently and hope for the best. Yeah, definitely been there. That's kind of how I actually stopped, like in my own personal Instagram, I've kind of stopped posting as much because I figured in my head, I was like, it's not about posting more. Posting more doesn't really do much for you. It's basically the quality of the content. It's not quantity. So yeah, definitely kind of feel the same way. completely given up. I hope that you don't give up. Here's the thing, like, and I'll talk about this, like Instagram doesn't want you to give up. I think like Instagram doesn't want you to fail, obviously, because if you fail and then you leave the platform, like people want, like Instagram wants to keep people within the platform. So I think more understanding the algorithm, we'll dive into it, that into understanding it a little bit better so we don't give up. Frustrating, yeah, pretty much the same sentiment all around. I have made a comment pod with some people thinking it brings priority to my posts. We'll talk about that. Comment pods and boost pods, we'll talk about that, but right off the bat, I would say maybe stop doing that. It's like a band-aid that's not really gonna heal like a big wound. It's impossible, almost putting me off Insta for good. I feel like all these comments, we should just go ahead and email it to Instagram. So that way we can be like, hey, Instagram, help this, people are mad. Like people are really frustrated and it's not helping. Well, of course, not understanding it makes it more frustrating. So we should probably email all these comments and be like, hey, over 100 people are going off about this. So maybe they'll do something to make it easier on us. Yeah. Cool. I don't personally post or browse anymore. So whenever I'm on Instagram, I don't feel the algorithm. I do see certain posts getting to me over and over, which I hate. It's making me opt to be less engaged. Yeah, I can definitely feel the same way. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, thanks everybody for sharing. I mean, I could go on and on about, let's see, about just everybody's feelings about this, but hopefully after this webinar, we'll feel a little bit more okay about it. Obviously, there's no easy fix. It's more strategy than just like, oh, okay, I'm doing this, and then like I've beat the algorithm, it's done, like it's good. It's a learning process. It's a lot of like having a learning curve. So we have to be patient with it. We really have to be patient with it. So that way let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little poll so that way everybody, I wanna see like the percentage of everybody of how they feel on this. Let me see, I'm supposed to have a little poll over here, but my window keeps blocking. Okay, I'm gonna do a little poll for just like 2 minutes. Do you feel like you understand the algorithm? Yes, no, somewhat. No being like 60% right now. Yeah, and I kind of like figured. For those 6 of you who are saying that you do understand the algorithm, let us know how you've understood it. I feel like sharing with the class will definitely help people feel a little bit more hopeful about creating better content and how you get your content to succeed. So yeah, let us know. But for those 63% of you that feel you don't understand it at all, totally valid. A lot of people don't feel this very same way. For those of you that are somewhat, I feel like hopefully after this you'll be like, okay, now I can be part of the 2% that understands the algorithm, understands it, but now knows how to navigate it a little bit better. Because there's no easy way. I'm just going to be transparent. Like there's no easy way to get around it. I mean, I miss the days when the algorithm wasn't there. I remember it was probably like 2016, 2017 when the algorithm came in, and I was just like, oh, great. This is going to make I used to be a social media content manager, so I just knew it was going to make my job so hard. We'll go ahead and end the poll now. Let's see if I can end the poll. Let's see. All right. So 63% of you said no. Let's see if I can share the results with you guys. Yeah, 63% of you, 64% of you said no. 10% of you said yes. And again, those 10% of you, sorry, 2% of you, the 10 of you who said yes, how do you, like, what helped you understand the algorithm a lot better? Would love to hear from you guys. And then 35% of you somewhat. So hopefully at the end of this, we'll feel a little bit more clear. Let's see the chat and see. Okay, Emily, please tell people what the algorithm is. So the algorithm is basically the way that Instagram decides, like the Instagram, it's not like a robot. It's just like the way that Instagram decides how content is fed to you. So before we used to be like, okay, we used to have our content fed to us in a chronological order. The great old days where we used to script through our feed and it was based on the minute that somebody had posted something and we would see everything on our feed. Nowadays, Instagram has done away with that, and the algorithm feeds you content based on a few factors we'll dive into right now, and that's what the algorithm is. It takes in consideration things like relationship, user interest, the time that you spent on an app, and all these things. That's what makes up what the algorithm is, and it's what's made content creators and marketers a little frustrated in the terms of like how their content is fed, because before you could just post something at 7 p.m. and think, okay, my audience is on at 7 p.m. and I know that if I post it at this time, they're going to see it. Nowadays, it's a little bit less like that. You have to try to there's like so many things that you need to try to beat in terms of like one thing that really helps your algorithm is the acceleration of your engagement. So if you get a lot of, engagement within 10 minutes on it compared to your average post, then Instagram is going to feel like, the algorithm is going to feel like, oh, this is an important post. Then they're going to go ahead and boost it up. And that's why a lot of people do boost groups. And that's a very minor fix. It doesn't really do much because you're only focusing on 15 people to help boost your content. But we'll dive into all of that. But that's essentially what the algorithm is. It's just how Instagram decides to feed content to you as a user based on your interests, your relationships, the type of content you interact with, and all the things. Reina understood it more by reading more through webinars. Like, for example, the more features you use, the more algorithm points you get. I wouldn't say it's algorithm points, but yes, definitely the more features you use, even with like Instagram stories, like Instagram wants you to use all the features that it has available for you. If you're putting your Instagram, if you're using IGTV and putting it in your Instagram feed, then that content's going to get, especially if you're getting a lot of views on your IGTV and you put it to your Instagram grid, then Instagram is definitely going to go ahead and try to boost that content because, one, it wants more people to watch IGTV, and it wants you as a user and a content creator to use IGTV. Alex, I think posting viral trends, topics, and events increase engagement in posts, definitely. Taylor, engaging with other people's posts throughout the day has helped me most when it comes to algorithm, especially right before and after you post. Definitely, you're doing it right. You want to, a lot of people, and I want to go ahead and say that, a lot of people think that just by scheduling to Planoly that's it, like, oh, I'm posting content and that's it. No, you have to spend time on the app engaging with people before and after you post. It's not a matter of like, oh, my post is going to go up at 6 and then I'm going to go ahead and post, like, engage with people later. You have to engage while you're posting, before and after you're posting. You have to be active on the app. Camille, I believe the algorithm serves content based on users' activity and followers, but then it is still filtered and Instagram hasn't been transparent on all the other requirements. Definitely. Very true. It does serve content based on, like users' activity based on what they like, what they follow, everything. Yes, agreed. Engagement with followers and other users, especially after posting content, seems to improve content results, but it's a ton of work and try to keep up with everything. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of manual work. There's no easy way, and we'll dive into like some of the hacks that people try to like go around this, but you have to put in that manual labor. Carla give a good definition. It's just a way for Facebook and Instagram to get coin, because at the end of the day, tons of companies and businesses are making money out of it. Why these platforms not? So yeah, people want to play by the rules, to pay for more ads, and to invest in them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll dive into Instagram ads a little bit, but definitely Instagram would like prefer you to, if you are trying to boost your content or go beyond your audience, they do want for you to boost your posts with paid ads. Cool. All right. There's so many questions. So I'll just like dive into the lesson plan so we can go ahead. Elaine, at what point will we be sharing the info you listed in the announcement for this webinar? We'll be diving into that now. So there's a lot of questions. And of course, if you have any questions like that you would like for me to answer, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. I'll try to go ahead and answer them one by one. And if I don't get a chance to answer your questions, I will also leave your email. If I don't get a chance to answer your questions, I'll go ahead and try to email you, or if not, answer them live. And Ava, yes, this is live. So, but if your questions don't get answered, there's over 700 people here. So I know a lot of you guys have questions. Cool. All right. So let's dive in. Let's see. Make sure that I'm sharing my screen too. Perfect. Okay, great. All right, so breaking down the algorithm, going one by one. So of course, like I mentioned earlier, Instagram uses the algorithm to determine what content each user sees in their feed. And it's been so hard for all of us. I mean, that's why we're all here, to try to figure out a way to get our content to our desired audience. So on average, and a few people actually emailed me about this, like how many people actually see your content. On average, it's 10%. But I definitely encourage everybody, that number ranges for everybody. So I would go ahead and see on your insights, if you do have a business account, seeing how many people, how many, or at least your reach on each post. So for example, I don't get any reach because I'm just like, I don't care about my reach. I'm just like using my personal Instagram. But on a post, for example, I get, here's my posts. So when you go to your insights, you can actually see all of your, engagement, reach, comments, impressions, whatever it may be, based on certain timelines. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and see my reach on an average per year per post. So your screen should look somewhat like this when you're trying to see what your insights are looking for each post. So on average, there was one post I got 2,835 people reach. That's how many people had seen that post. So that's based on your following. You can definitely make that math and see like, okay, 2,000 people based on, 5,000 followers, that you make that math, that should be, let's see, 2,000. I can't do mental math, sorry. That's 40% of people at my following that are seeing my posts. That was a really old post, so I'm sure like people have seen it everywhere, and I tagged my location, I tagged people, I made sure that I try to amplify as many of the features within the post as I could. I used hashtags, I engaged with hashtags, so reach-wise, I got 40% based on my following. That might not include the reach might not be the people that followed me, because of course, if I added location, some of the people that saw the post might not have been my followers. But on average, 10% of your audience will see your content, especially when they're looking on their feed. And again, that ranges for everybody, so I encourage everybody to do that math, and just divide what the reach versus your following is, and you'll get that percentage. But that goes for your engagement. You can do all the math for that. And I'll go and dive into KPIs and key performance indicators, and how you can create a worksheet so you can track those numbers and see your progress and your performance. But how does the algorithm work exactly? So Instagram's product lead, Julian Gutman. So for those who said that if this was real, it is real. Instagram, Julian Gutman from Instagram had actually done a presentation on what the breakdown is. So we'll go ahead and dive into that. So here's the factors, and we'll dive into each one by one. Number one being user interest. Number two being post recency. 3 being relationship. 4, visit recency. 5, following, and then app usage. And we'll go ahead and dive into each one. User interest is, Instagram pays very close attention to the behavior on the platform to figure out what kind of content you're most likely to care about. And mind you, this is from the perspective as somebody who's just looking at content on my feed. Instagram is giving me content based on what I'm most interested about. So It's not just based on the hashtags that you're using or the people that you're following. It's more beyond that, because Instagram actually uses machine learning and human curation to recognize the patterns within the images that you interact with. What you watch, when you like something, when you comment, when you save, and when you share something as well. So a good example, I got into Drag Race a few years ago, and I started following a bunch of drag queens and started like engaging with a lot of Drag Race content. So now my Discover feed is literally all Drag Race. You go into it and it's like everything from DragCon to like last week's episode, whatever it may be. That's what's curated on my Discover feed, along with a few like beauty products and influencers, because that's the content that I engage with the most. And it's very different for everybody. Before, the Discover feed used to be content that's similar or based on what your followers or people you follow engage with. Now it's just curated for you. So the same goes for your following. And the algorithm is going to rank content that you engage with the most higher based on your interactions, along with like the accounts that you interact with the most. So and we'll dive into relationships. So that kind of like breaks down user interest. Next is post recency. So a lot of people complained that, they wanted the timeline back. They were seeing a lot of posts on their feed that were from 5 days ago or a week ago. And people were complaining, like, why am I seeing like really old content on my feed? So Instagram listened, and they went ahead and not that they went ahead and brought back a chronological feed, but now when you go on your feed, you will see the most recent content based on the different other factors of the algorithm feeded to you. So they are going to go ahead and value post recency much higher, and the timeliness of the post. This is why sometimes when you are trying to post whenever your audience is most active, and you can definitely look at that those times within your insights. If you do have a business Instagram account, you can see when your audience is most active. So definitely posting during those times will go ahead and prioritize your content to them based on when your audience is most active. So timeliness of each post. If it is a post that, if you are an account that your audience has a lot of interest in and has a relationship with, then they're going to go ahead and boost your content to the top. Next, relationship, and this is a big one. I know if you guys have already mentioned that, you only see people that you engage with the most, but that's kind of what Instagram wants to give you. They don't want to give you content that that they have seen that you're not going to engage with. For example, I follow probably 1,000+ people, but I'm pretty sure, I know I'm not seeing all of their content, and I'm probably not as interested in some people's content as I'm more interested in the people that I have like relationships with. So Instagram isn't going to prioritize the people that I don't really engage with at the top. If you do want to see those people up at your feed, then you have to go ahead and engage with their content. From the other side, if you're a brand and you want to build that relationship with the people who don't really interact with you, you have to kind of build that relationship with them. You have to comment on their posts, like their content, and it has to be genuine. This isn't a matter of like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and automatically comment on people that you're using my hashtag or whatever it may be. It has to be genuine conversations, genuine comments that relate to the content that they're posting. A lot of people post questions in their comments, or will post like a photo that tries to engage some call to action. You have to give into that call to action just as you would want them to do to you, and that's how you build that relationship. So as a user, if you are getting content from people that you've commented, liked, tagged, that's a big one. The algorithm is definitely going to go ahead and rank your content up to their content up to your feed. So as a content creator and marketer, you have to keep that in mind. So definitely build on that relationship, build genuine engagement. Next is visit recency. So how often you open Instagram also plays into what content is shown on your feed. So they'll go ahead and show you the best posts since your last visit, or the last time you refresh your feed. So for example, if you're looking through your feed, it's been 10 minutes. They're going to go ahead and reset the algorithm and give you the content that is most relevant to you. And even when you refresh it, you'll see that there is like a whole new batch of top content that you're going to be seeing first. So their Instagram is going ahead and reset the algorithm for you and give you new content that you haven't seen yet. It doesn't mean that if by you resetting, you're not going to see the content that was already on your feed or like you hadn't scrolled past yet. If you hadn't seen it yet, Instagram is not gonna, it's still gonna try to give you that content. So that's visit recency, and next is following. So like I mentioned earlier, I follow 1,000+ accounts. I'm not gonna get 1,000+ posts in my feed on a daily, especially if I only spend a few hours on Instagram. And you know, especially if like some accounts are posting 2 or 3 times a day, then they're going to go ahead, Instagram is going to go ahead and prioritize that content to the top. So for the more accounts you follow, the harder it is for Instagram to show you all the content posted from all the people that you follow each day. And mind you, you can only follow 7,500 people. Instagram does this to stop spam, because they feel like the more people you follow, you're not going to see all their content. You're not going to engage with all of them. So they do it as like to stop spam, but the algorithm is still considering all the other components as it generates your feed based on your following. So it's very likely that you're not seeing all the content from all the people that you're following every time you open an app. So if you see that some of your, from a content creator or marketer perspective, you see that your followers are following 7,500 people, then you have to fight 10 times harder, if not 100 times harder, to on that pool of like 7,500 people. Oh, sorry. I opened my AirPods and now it's telling me, can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Sorry. I like touched my AirPods and then like Zoom was like, we're going to switch to your AirPods. I'm like, no. All right, let's go back. So yeah, the more people that your audience is following, especially if they're following 7,500 people, it's going to be really hard for you to like swim to the top of that pool. So you really have to work on all the other things of building that user interest with your audience, building the relationship, getting them to then engage with your content to make sure that you go to the top of the, or at least show up on their feeds. So that's another thing to consider. And next is app usage. So it's very similar to recency, but Instagram pays attention to how long you spend on the app to give you the best content in for longer short sessions. So for example, if I spend 30 minutes on the app within like intervals, then Instagram is going to go ahead and try to curate the best content for like the 30 minutes on average that I'm on the feed, on the feed. And if not, whatever I don't see is probably going to get, you know, taken back up to the next session and going to be shown to me. And that's what's going to take, like all that content is going to be prioritized within the sessions that I'm going to be on the app. So now that we kind of dove into each factor that the algorithm comprises of, we have to understand it. So of course, like those were just like textbook definitions of what the algorithm, each factor of the algorithm is, but now we really have to understand it. So the first step is, instead of feeling like annoyed, frustrated, and held back, we have to dissect every factor and see how it can help us rather than hinder us. We kind of need to like leave that like defeated kind of perspective and see how we can work with it rather than against it. Because then again, at the end of the day, Instagram does want our content to perform well. Like again, if we didn't perform well, we would probably just ditch the app and probably go to, I don't know, like Facebook. I mean, mind you, Facebook is like under Instagram, but we'll probably go to like Snapchat and create content there. But it wants to make sure that the content that we are creating is valuable and tailored for the audience that we're targeting. It doesn't want to give people, it essentially wants to create like a curated content experience for every user on the app. So that's kind of like the purpose of the algorithm. So here's how we can use strategies by understanding the algorithm to help optimize our content performance. Number one, creating conversation and use audience with your audience and use call to actions. So The whole point of ranking higher than the algorithm is to increase the visibility of your content and use your post to spark conversation with your audience. That you want to build that engagement, you want to go ahead and have that conversation, build that relationship. So once you have their attention with your post, with your image, whatever it may be it on stories or your feed, you have to end your caption with a compelling call to action to seal the deal. You can't just like I feel like we don't have the luxury of being Kylie Jenner and posting like an emoji with our caption. She can do that and people will go ahead and comment, do the whole like back, follow back thing that kids do. I'm not aware of that, but that's like very niche to Kylie Jenner's audience, but we don't all have that luxury. So we do have to work a little bit harder, create call to actions, and build that engagement with our audience rather than just relying solely on beautiful, stunning photos. It's more than that. So ask yourself, what is it going to make your audience want to comment? You have to think of it beyond just like a brand perspective, because I think sometimes we put our like brand goggles on and we're like, yeah, of course this is going to build a conversation, but sometimes you have to take away your conversation from selling a product. And I think this is where people feel like a little like tuned off when it comes back to like selling something. You actually want to build a conversation that is relevant to your community. Of course, like all of our following people who follow us are a community. They follow us because we have a shared interest. So tap into that. And that's not always like trying to sell something. And make them see like, okay, this is something that our audience is constantly talking about, even beyond our platform. So let's bring the conversation back to that and bring the conversation to our profile. So that way they stay here, have the conversations here, and build that brand loyalty, which will eventually lead to either a follow or, them buying something, lead generation, whatever it may be that we eventually want. And creating conversation not only allows you to start a dialogue with your audience, but like I mentioned, helps build brand loyalty. I feel like that's why brands like Glossier and Away are so successful, because of course, like we're very aware of their products, but they've also built a community in building a brand dialogue that people can always like, you'll see their comments and it's just always conversations. Even Girl Boss does that too. Which can later translate to new clients and customers. So these conversations can also teach you as a creator what your audience does want from you, doesn't need, and doesn't want to respond to. And especially when you're using Instagram stories, for example, if you're using the question sticker, you can ask them what content they want to see from you. Use these tools that Instagram is giving you, so that way you could go ahead and use that as feedback and help create better content for your content strategy. This is why Instagram gives you these tools, because they want you to know your audience a little bit better. They want you to build that conversation. It's not just posting pretty photos and sitting back and waiting for people to just comment and like. It's much more than that. So go ahead and, really focus on building that relationship, building that conversation, and kind of continuing that feedback loop. I think that's what it is. Like, you're getting answers from them, you're giving them conversation, and eventually it'll just create this cycle where people are constantly going to be engaged, and eventually your content is going to show up at the top of their feed. And this is one of the best ways to really kind of I won't say hack the algorithm, but work with the algorithm. Let's go with that. Work with the algorithm. Next is analyzing your best and worst performing content. So one thing Instagram isn't going to really boost boost bad performing content. You really have to work for it. So if there is a photo that probably didn't get any engagement or any likes, unfortunately, it's not going to get to the top of people's feeds. So one thing to really do is kind of take a step back, assess how your content is working, see what's working, what's not working, and then pinpoint kind of like the bad factors and see, okay, that post didn't work. We've been doing posts like that for 3 weeks. Let's just not do it anymore because it's obviously not working. So let's not create content that's just gonna keep bringing our engagement down. It's really important to make sure that the content that you post on your feed is the best content that you can post. Somebody had emailed me and asked, how many posts do I need to post a day? Does it need to be like 3 posts a day? That shouldn't matter. If you can post 1 post a day, but you have to make sure that it's your best post that you have. A lot of people sometimes feel like, oh, I need to post 3 posts a day and that's it. Like, I need to go ahead and just like make sure that I'm posting like at 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. And if I don't post at 7 o'clock, then find something to post and just post it. I just need something to get up on the grid. By doing that, one, it's not just that your content is going to be like not shown on the grid, but for example, from a user perspective, if I follow you and I'm seeing that you're just posting content, like mediocre content because you have to, and I don't really like it, I'm tired of seeing mediocre content, I'm just going to hit unfollow. You don't want to do that with your audience. You want to make sure that every piece that you post is a good representation of your brand, of the standards that you have for your brand, the brand guidelines that you've set for your brand, and always making sure you're posting the best. And if it's not, then you make sure that, okay, that post didn't do well. Keep an indicator of that. Why didn't it perform well? See, like, just dissect it and make sure that you can apply those lessons learned to your content strategy moving forward. So one of my favorite ways to do that is by keeping a KPI tracker. We have a KPI tracking sheet actually on the Planoly blog. So if you go to planoly.com/blog and you type in KPI, we have a Instagram glossary of like all the things to track when you're tracking your performance. And we also have a free downloadable of an Excel spreadsheet that you can go ahead and track all your KPIs and then track your success. Because while, you know, sometimes we might feel a little bit blinded and celebrate our successes and you're like, oh, this post did great. But okay, yeah, like that post didn't do so well, but whatever, this other post did great. We do have to pay attention to the post that didn't do good. Because if we're not learning from, you know, the bad content that we're posting, or learning any lessons from what we can do better, we're not going to get better. So that's one thing to really keep in mind, and really keep like celebrating your successes, but also like have your lessons learned and make sure you know them and let them guide your strategy moving forward. Next is using Instagram ads. I know a few people are probably going to feel a little bit about this, but here's the thing. Probably 5 years ago, you could have grown your Instagram accounts organically without spending any budget on posting on Instagram. That's fair. I used to be a social media manager, 5 years ago, and I only grew channels organically. Nowadays, I can't do that anymore because we're working with the algorithm, and the algorithm isn't really allowing us to grow organically unless we put some budget to help grow our audiences and really drive sales, drive traffic, drive follows, whatever we want to do. If we want, for example, like have people go to our site to learn more, or to create signups for a webinar, or to download, sign up for an email list to get a free download, whatever it may be, we do have to invest some type of budget in Instagram ads. So to ensure that you're growing your audience and maximizing your content, along with creating new leads and, getting new potential customers, you have to invest in Instagram ads. I wouldn't say it's like a guaranteed way to get new follows and everything, but you are guaranteeing that you will see, more people will see your content, more people will see your feed. Your reach is just gonna go through the roof. But it's not just beyond getting your content to new audiences, but it is something that's going to be shown to your current audiences, to the people that follow you already. So it's kind of a way to guarantee that your content will show up on their feed because you're paying for it. So definitely we all have to, I know it's not something that we want to do, but Instagram's very tricky, and they knew if we do an algorithm, people are going to invest more into Instagram ads. And that's just the way social media is today, unfortunately. It's not the best thing, but I feel like we do have to put some investment into Instagram ads. Next is using carousel posts. So I don't know if you have seen, and this is the same post because it's a carousel post, but it's kind of a newish feature. I think it was probably released, I want to say I started seeing it on my feed maybe November, December last year. But basically, any carousel post that I had scrolled past on my feed, if I saw it, and even if I liked it, but I didn't scroll or like, yeah, swipe left to see the next post or like the multimedia, be it a photo or a video in the carousel, it would get taken back up to my feed. So one, this allows you to get even more impressions on a single post. So definitely try to invest in carousel posts and creating multimedia content, be it videos or photos, whatever it may be. This allows like users to see other images within the post. So even if like they were just scrolling super fast but didn't notice that it was a carousel, then Instagram is going to go ahead and help you put that content back into their feeds. And it allows you to share, 10 videos, be it 10 videos or photos at a time, but you're also maximizing the number of times your followers see your content in their feeds. So taking advantage of that, it's another way to like chance to get their interest, gauge their interest, get their interest, and engage with them. So definitely take advantage of that, get creative with it. There's many brands that get really, really creative and either do divide, like now with IGTV, I don't feel like you have to, but sometimes people would do like a full video, maybe like a minute and a half video, since each like clip is like a minute, and just like do a 5-minute video within like a carousel post. You could also do like snippets of an interview. If it's like the first carousel post is like a graphic, and then the next is a video, next is a graphic, a video, whatever it may be. So that way you can think a little bit creatively. Feel free to play around with it and see what works. Again, go ahead once that post is done and the time has passed, definitely reassess your performance and see, okay, did it not work? Okay, cool, we won't do that again because carousel, people don't really care about carousel posts. Okay, that might be your audience. Every audience is different. I see like some people do roundups of, and this might be just like the people I follow, but sometimes they do roundups of like ASMR videos, and those get so many views and get a lot of shares. So think about like what's going to get you views, but also shares and saves. I think those are the three, and also of course engagement, like likes and comments, but views, saves, shares, and likes and comments are the four like kind of indicators that I want to make sure like you're assessing your performance and seeing like, okay, this is doing great. We're getting a lot of saves and shares. We definitely need to start creating more content like this. And then of course, it's always ensuring that you're posting quality content. So a few things, like I know it can be a little bit vague, but for us, we have a checklist on the Planoly blog on what you need to make sure when you're posting, when you're scheduling on Planoly, what you need to check off of. Here are just a few. Of course, if it's not the highest quality photo, you should probably find a better quality photo to post. If it's grainy, maybe you shouldn't post it. There's a lot of people that are turned off by grainy posts and will probably unfollow. So you need to make sure that you're posting the highest quality photo that you can, if you can get it. Next is the editing of the photo, one that matches your grid and brand guidelines. So as a brand, you want to make sure that you set guidelines for what is acceptable to go on your grid. And that's the reason why Planoly was created, to make sure that everything that you post, you already see ahead of time, and you can go ahead and like add anything that is on brand or take off anything that isn't. Once you see it visually, you can make sure that everything fits cohesively and okay, cool. We can go ahead and post it because it matches my grid and it hits the brand guidelines, but if it doesn't, you should probably not post it. You want to maintain the quality of your feed. Next, when you've planned out all your content and captions, of course, using Planoly can make this even easier. You have to ask yourself a few questions. What is the call to action? Of course, as we mentioned earlier, how are you engaging your audience to perform an action that's going to help your brand grow? You have to, I feel like with social media, it's not much of a guessing game. You have to tell people what you want them to do. So if it is, click the link in my bio to watch more, or sign up for my email list on my link in bio to get a free downloadable, or asking them something and, drop your answers in the comments below and start a conversation and tag a friend to give their insight. Like whatever it may be, you have to tell them. If not, you won't really get what you want. And also, like, once you know what you want them to do, measure that. Use that as a measuring indicator to see, okay, I asked them to do this. Let's see how many actions we got of what we asked them to do. And then if they do it, great. And if they don't, okay, how do we need to pivot that and restructure that in a way that is actually going to help build a conversation and build engagement? Next, how am I inviting my audience into the brand conversation? The one thing with social media, especially if you're a brand, people feel like that wall of brand and audience is kind of like non-existent. So you have to kind of, and Glossier does a great job of this because they tap into a lot into user-generated content and make the audience feel like they're a part of the brand. It's building on that community sentiment. So you need to make sure that if it is Instagram stories and you're asking them, hey, like, what content would you like to see? What products would you like to, the thing happened again. Okay, great. I'm good. You need to go ahead and make sure that you're always including them in the conversation. So that way, when you're asking them their feedback, you're listening to their feedback and you're actually taking that feedback into consideration and including it into your content strategy. So that way they feel like they're part of your brand conversation, your brand direction. And of course that builds that brand loyalty. I remember there was like one time that, who was it? Oh, who brand was it? I can't remember. I think it was like Wendy's or something, like liked a tweet and then they replied to one of my tweets and I'm like, oh, okay. Like it feels like a person is behind the phone or like behind the computer. So you need to build on that and make sure that there's like, okay, this is a person that I'm talking to rather than just a brand, and build on that brand conversation and make them feel like they're a part of it. Next is my caption proof and free of errors. There is one profile I follow that's actually a reputable music outlet, but they constantly have typos and their links don't work. And I'm just thinking, who is managing their social media? And the comments is always calling out the typos, the links, whatever it may be. It'll always, and sometimes they even tag the wrong profiles. It's crazy. So people will call that out. People love calling things out. So you need to make sure that nobody calls you out and you make sure that your captions, your links, everything works. Everything is free of error. So that way, when you're telling them to navigate to, a link or follow somebody or do whatever, that they can't be like, oh, you spelled this wrong or you tag the wrong person. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that everything is top notch. And of course, are you linking to the right place? Do your links work? Like I mentioned, that one music site always has broken links, and it's crazy that they're actually like posting that without checking. So take the extra 5 seconds to double check everything and make sure that nobody can call you out. Because if so, then it's not quality content and people are probably going to unfollow you. So now that we know what to do, a few of the things to do, mind you, these are just a few tips. If you have any of your own for those, that 2% that knew how to understand the algorithm a little better, feel free to drop it in the chat for everybody else to see. But here's a few things to avoid. And I remember reading through the chat and some people had said that they had done boost groups, but we'll talk about that. But here's the things that you should definitely not do. So there's no need to hack the algorithm and cheat your way into getting more engagement, because if you're creating the content that is meant for your audience, you shouldn't have to cheat your way into it. Again, the algorithm should teach us how to create better content that's tailored for our audience rather than kind of trying to pull engagement to content that people don't care about. And it's not to say that people don't care about our content. We need to build on engagement. We need to work on creating better content rather than feeling like, oh no, like this post needs to get this engagement, so I need to do all these things to make sure that engagement looks good. We need to spend less time on figuring out how to make our numbers, our vanity metrics look good, and spend more time on elevating our content. So people focus a lot on vanity metrics, and vanity metrics are just like the numbers that look good, such as following and engagement. Before you could buy engagement, I think engagement wasn't a vanity metric, but now it is. But here's a few of the common hacks to avoid. One, of course, being buying followers. I hope nobody in this room has bought followers. And if you have, I hope that you probably deleted those followers or don't do it anymore. But yes, nobody should buy followers. We actually have a post on, I wrote a post on this last year on how Instagram is cracking down on influencer fraud. If you look up influencer fraud on the Planoly blog, there is a whole piece on it that I wrote on how Instagram is tackling this. But Instagram is getting rid of fake followers or in bots that you could easily buy with $30. So for all those profiles that did buy followers, they will see that their following is just going to decrease significantly. The same goes for buying engagement. So Instagram is also getting rid of the bots that are performing that engagement, but people can also buy engagement and just buy likes and not necessarily comments, because comments probably, I feel like nowadays sometimes like you can buy comments, but it's not really, here's the thing. Being aware of influencer fraud, especially as coming from a brand perspective, when there's a lot of influencers that follow us or like want to work with us. For example, there was one influencer last year that wanted to work with us, and she had 140,000 followers. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And she was an influencer from LA, but all her photos seemed really grainy. And for me, that's already like a red flag. And I'm like, okay, she's a blogger from LA, has 140,000 followers, and I'm originally from LA, so I know a lot of bloggers out there. So I figured, oh, if she's a blogger from LA, maybe we'll have some mutual connections. None whatsoever. Another red flag. I was like, okay. And then I looked at her photos, and she would only post like once a week. And she had like maybe 40, 50 posts, and she had 140,000 followers. So it was just like red flags all around. And basically, I'm like, okay, I need to dive in deeper. So I saw her engagement was high. I looked into her likes, and it was back to back to back, just bots, all bots. So now, influencers can go ahead or people who do influencer fraud or whoever it may be, big brands too, can go ahead and say, oh, we have like engagement that's over like 10%. On average, it's around like 5. So 10% is kind of like a steep number and already like hits a red flag. So when I see those numbers, people, and especially this just like for other brands, they're going to go ahead and dive into the people that are following them rather than just seeing the numbers, the vanity metrics, and seeing like, oh, they have great, like tons of followers and they have tons of engagement. You have to look into the actual engagement, see who's following those accounts and see those profiles, because sometimes they can be disguised as a normal person, but then you'll see they're like following 400 people and only have 2 followers and have no posts. Like those are usually like bots. So don't do any buying followers, don't buy engagement, work on building your engagement naturally, real engagement, rather than doing a cheat like this. Next is automating your comments. I know a lot of people say like, well, I don't have a lot of time to just comment on people's profiles. And I get it. There are softwares that do help with that. For example, there is Sprout Social that helps with engagement and managing social media platforms. We do that with Planoly. You can go ahead and comment on all your you can comment on all your posts and reply to all of your audience within desktop or the app. But desktop makes it so much easier, so you can reply to your audience. But there are people who automate comments. You can buy automation and select certain hashtags that are relevant to your brand that you've selected, and just go ahead and like reply with canned responses to all these posts with hashtags. While that might sound great, seeing replies like love this pic, cute pic, great shot, like those are not going to get you the engagement you want. You have to spend the time to actually look at the content, read the caption, and build a conversation on that post with your audience to make sure that you actually build a relationship with them rather than like cute post or like this post, whatever it may be. A good example that this could go very, very wrong. I remember my coworker had told me that there was a girl who posted a post about a family member passing away, and I guess this brand had made automation for certain profiles and certain hashtags. I guess she had used the hashtag in her post. And the brand replied, love this post, or like, love this pic, to a very grim post. And that just like, she was like, why are they replying this? That's obviously like a bot, but like, this is a very sad post for me to like share, and posting like love this isn't really something that I want to like have somebody reply. So that's where it could go very wrong. So don't let that happen to you. Please take the time to actually comment and read your audience's content to build that relationship, because I've done it where, you know, I'm actually reading people's content and engaging with it genuinely and writing about the content, and they'll follow me back rather than just like love this pic, because nobody really cares about that. And then next is creating engagement pods and boost groups. And I know a few people have probably done this here. I'm guilty of it. And when I did it, I hated it. I hated the fact that I needed to stay up to date with 15 posts that I didn't really like, because I remember I was in this boost group with like a few girls, and some of their content I just genuinely didn't like, and I didn't feel like it's something that I was gonna genuinely comment on, but I had to, and then I would just write, love this pic, and that made me feel very ingenuine. It was very kind of just like type engagement. And then the other thing too is that you see a lot of people, especially brands, will take notice when there is engagement pods. So if you're focusing on the same 15 people to boost your content, and only those 15 people boost your content, then that means the other, you know, how many followers you have don't really care about your content. You can't be focusing on those 15 people if the rest of your audience isn't caring about it. And like engagement pods and boost groups are kind of like a band-aid on a wound that you can't heal. It's like a very big scar, and there's just like a little tiny band-aid. Like that's engagement pods and boost groups are not a good strategy. And yeah, like for example, you'll see the same 15 people comment on each post, and brands will be like, well, all these same people are always engaging. Like, does she have more people that follow her? Like, so don't do engagement pods and boost groups. It's not a good strategy. Make sure that, and I think the other way that you can do this is when you are posting, always engage with people before and after you post. Go crazy. You have to engage and get people to like your content back. And then of course, follow, unfollow. I'm pretty sure that anybody who's been victim to this is probably like, this is one of the most annoying things to do. But I remember there are people who have followed me, and then I guess they will unfollow me, and then like a week later they'll go back and follow me, and then unfollow. And then for a whole month, I remember this one profile kept following and unfollowing me, to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to follow you because I'm just not that interested in your content. So I went and unblocked them. Don't let, this is not like a great strategy. So don't allow yourself to be blocked or become the annoying profile that just like shows up on people's follow feed. So don't do this. If you're definitely going to follow somebody, follow them and stick to it. Don't do a follow unfollow. It's just like really, really annoying. Just build on engagement. Like if you really want people's attention, just engage with their content. That's the best way you can get them to follow them without being annoying and doing follow unfollow. But I would love to hear from you guys. What other things have you done to hack the algorithm? I'm probably only mentioned 5, but I really love to hear from everybody else. And I know we're going a little bit over time, but thank you for like the 600 plus of you guys for sticking with me. But I would love to hear from you. What have you done to kind of like hack the algorithm? So Ali, the webinar is an hour long. I sometimes go over time, but don't worry if you have to log off. Again, the webinar will be available for replay on Friday. One thing that I've heard is that editing your caption after posting hurts your engagement. I've heard that too, and I don't think that's true. I've never seen that happen. I think sometimes if you need to edit your caption and add hashtags, whatever it may be, like you don't have to. It won't hurt you. Diana, do you get shadow banned by using the same hashtags on every post you share? So shadow banning is not a real thing. Instagram actually, I think they wrote it was a Twitter post because people were like talking about shadow banning and they were like setting the record straight, shadow banning is not real. But they want you to make sure that your hashtags are relevant to the content that you're posting. So for example, we have the hashtag manager on Planoly, and you can go ahead and paste all the same hashtags all the time, but you need to make sure that you're adding more hashtags to that post that are relevant to that actual post, like whatever the image may be, the caption, whatever. So that way, one, you're maximizing your audience to even more people, but you're also diversifying your hashtags. And somebody had asked me, what is a great tool to use for hashtags? For display purposes only.com. For display purposes, it is a website that it's a great hashtag generator that is relevant to the like it'll populate hashtags for you. I'll actually share my screen with you on that right now. So this is the tool for display purposes. It is a great tool, not sponsored by them, but somebody from a previous webinar had mentioned this and I just had to share. So for example, I will put hashtag, oh my God, I'm running out of like ideas. Calligraphy. So when you post the hashtags, this website will auto-populate the most, like the family of hashtags that are relevant to the hashtag you posted. So calligraphy, hashtag hand lettering, hashtag lettering, anything that's relevant to the hashtag that you're looking for if you're trying to diversify. This one is really, really helpful. So I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for what hashtags to use. But I would also go into each hashtag and see how many people actually use it, because you want to diversify your hashtags with niche audiences rather than thinking like, oh, I'm just going to use the hashtags that use 2 million people, because you're putting your content in a pool of 2 million and it's just really hard to get your content noticed on a really big pool. So you have to like think niche. Mike, what's important by diversifying hashtags? So with diversifying hashtags, I mean, by what I mean is based on the amount of people that use the hashtag. So you do want to have like a few that have like a really large audience, maybe like 1 million or 2, like 1 million tags, but you also want to go ahead and focus on the ones that probably are like less than 1 million or even 500,000. So that way you actually are tapping into a very dedicated niche of people who actually engage with those hashtags, rather than you know, just putting all your content in a pool with millions of tags, and it's just going to be harder for you to be seen. And also in terms of diversifying, kind of adding different hashtags that are relevant to the content that you're posting instead of using the same hashtags again and again and again and again. Let's see what other people have done. Yes, you can tag people in Planoly, Amy. Let's see. Do you suggest using 30 hashtags in post? Yes, that's your limit. You can't use over 30 hashtags. I mean, I feel like you should use even like focusing on 15 hashtags that are like the most focused to your content is great too, but your limit is 30. How do you know the number of people have blocked you? You can't tell this. You can see how many people you've blocked, but you can't see how many people have blocked you. Yeah, you probably have to go see their profile and see if they've blocked you. Usually if they've blocked you, you see that you'll see how many posts they have, or like the number of posts that they have, but you'll see like, oh, they haven't posted anything. So usually that's how you can see if somebody has blocked you. Is it true that comments should be 4 words? I've heard this. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard this, that it should be more than 4 words. I think you should worry more about actually creating a comment that is much more relevant to a genuine comment that is relevant to the post, rather than worrying about how many letters your your comment should be. Kind of like, you know, if it is something that has to be 4 words and you just want to comment on everything, and be like, thanks for sharing this post. Like, this is a great, I don't know, like, thanks for sharing this post. Yeah, thanks for sharing this post. That's 5 words. So that could be something you could do, but don't worry about writing canned responses. Canned responses don't really work. You have to create a comment that's relevant to the content that the person has posted. I hate that every time I follow a new account, I get followed by 100 accounts that I'm not interested in. So Helena, you can actually delete people who follow you. You can not block them, but you can remove followers. You can, if you go to your like people who, or at least your newsfeed, if you see somebody who follows you, actually, no. If you go to your followers and, so, sorry, I wish I could share my phone. But if you go to your followers and you see those little dots, if you tap the dots, you can remove a follower. I'm not going to remove you, Carolyn. I like a bunch of people just followed me, but you can see the dots on who you follow, and you can go ahead and remove somebody if you decide that you don't want them to follow you. Okay, I feel like, Hope had a question that a few people. I heard that algorithm doesn't count it as authentic engagement unless you type 4 words. Okay, I already answered that one. Okay, let's go into the Q&A because I'm like in the chat box. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat, in the Q&A, not in the chat box, because there's like over 500 comments on here. Let's go in really quick. I'll probably be on for 15 more minutes, but again, if you go ahead and put in your question with your email if I don't get an answer, or put your Instagram handle, I'll try to answer them. If not, you can go ahead and email me at priscilla@planoly.com. I feel like maybe you guys are, if you actually reply to the email reminder for this webinar, it'll go straight to my inbox, so just go ahead and email me there. Okay. Let's see. Oh, sorry. You guys are putting in your questions and I can't see the questions. Oh, no. Okay. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I'm really trying to see the questions, but you guys keep putting questions in. Okay. Let's see. How can we do these questions? Let's see. All right, let's try to like dive into this. Okay. Kelsey's here. Okay, let's see. So Kelsey asked, I'd love to know about any negative impacts from changing from a personal to business account. Heard it really hurts engagement because Instagram wants you to pay if you're a business. Okay, that is not true. So I have a business account. My engagement has not changed at all, but it can definitely go higher if you do pay for Instagram ads. So there's no negative impacts from changing to a personal to business account. If anything, having a business account allows you to have insights, and you can definitely see, you know, everything from what content is performing well, what's your best performing content, the times that your audience is most active. I know everybody asks, what is the best time for you to post, but everybody's time is different because everybody's audiences are on different times, especially when it's like worldwide audiences. So yeah, you don't have any negative effects. If you do, it definitely need to shift your content, but there's no negative effect from changing from personal to business. So I hope that answers. Hi, Kelsey. Kelsey's actually my old coworker, and she's in LA. So glad she's here. Okay, let's see. Okay, Angelica, what about creating a creator account? I'm trying it this week. A creator account is similar to a business account. There is no hindrance for creating a creator account. But actually, if you have a creator account now, Instagram just launched something last week where you can actually see your insights on desktop. So I definitely encourage everybody to do a creator account because actually, if you go to a Planoly blog, my coworker Adriana, who's our influencer relations lead, she wrote a piece on creating creator accounts and benefits of it. So definitely encourage you to go to the blog and look up the creator account piece. Definitely dives into that, but well worth doing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead and answer this. Oh, man, questions are coming in. And again, please go ahead and put your handles to your Instagram, to their questions. So if I don't get a chance to answer, I have like 13 more minutes. Sorry, these questions are like coming in. I have a great question here. Does using hashtag on your stories boost your engagement? So not necessarily boost your engagement, but it does boost the impressions that you get on those stories. So definitely use hashtags on your stories. My favorite trick is to add hashtags to my stories, and then I will put them a color of something on the background. I will minimize, especially if I use like 15 hashtags, I will minimize those hashtags and I will hide them in the background so nobody sees it. But the hashtags will still, like my content will still show up on that specific hashtag. So you definitely get more impressions with that. So definitely use hashtags on your stories. Not only, it's gonna boost your reach, but with engagement, you have to make sure that your content is actually engaging. So you're actually driving your audience to do something rather than just, them seeing it and that's it. So if it is putting like a question or a poll or an emoji slider, do that to build that engagement on your stories. Oh, Veronica actually I really want to answer this question about influencers. Veronica, I saw it. It seems as micro-influencers all over the platform with hashtag ad being seen everywhere. Do you have any thoughts as to what's the next wave of influence will be? Do you think the influencer market will stall out soon? I definitely don't think it'll stall out soon. Mind you, hashtag ad needs to be on people's comments everywhere. It is an FTC regulation. We actually, I think I wrote something on the Planoly blog about that last year. But it is an FTC regulation for influencers who are doing paid partnerships and don't do hashtag ad. They will get a fine. So it is important to do hashtag ad in the beginning or on this first line of the caption that they're writing. But this is where marketing is going. There's a lot, before influencer marketing, it was celebrity endorsements, and celebrity endorsements are still very strong. Look at Serena Williams with Nike. Serena Williams has grown this brand. Target is very much immersed in celebrity endorsements, like Chrissy Teigen's line of homewares at Target. So celebrity endorsements, if celebrity endorsements aren't going anywhere, influencers aren't going anywhere. I think it might shift into not much brand partnerships, but influencers creating their own products. That's where it's been going already. If you look at digital brand DBA, Digital Brand Architects, who is one of the biggest influencer marketing agencies. They're kind of like talent agents for influencers. They also have a branch called DBP, Digital Brand Products, and they've created brands for Gabby Fresh, for Nicolette Mason. Lot of. I think that's where it's going. Rather than influencers doing brand partnerships, they're just creating their own brand. So I think that's where it's going to go. And they've created, a lot of these influencer brands. That's why James Charles has like these Morphe. I know James Charles can be like a whole different conversation, but James Charles has been so successful with Morphe. And Morphe has been so successful with all their influencer collabs because of that very reason. So yeah, influencer wave is only getting bigger. So yeah. Let's answer a few more questions. Oh, okay, this is a great question, sorry. Kelly, oh my goodness. Kelly Beatty, when people click on the links in your bio or swipe up to learn more in your stories, does that count in the algorithm? Yes, that's actually some of your engagement stats. So people, the more that people are actually clicking, if you can actually see on your stories if people swipe up. So that gets taken into the success of your content. So not that your content or stories are going to get boosted up, but if it is something within your feed, if there are the more clicks to your, especially with shopping now on Instagram, if people are seeing, or like Instagram notices that people are clicking more on your shoppable content, then it is definitely going to try to rank it up higher, because those are engagements that it is counting. I mean, sometimes I'll even see, not just even like clicks, but any type of like mass engagement that is more than usual, Instagram will go ahead and rank that higher. A prime example of that is that like every gender reveal or baby announcement that I see on my feed, like it might be people that I don't really follow, and or like I do follow, but I don't really engage with their content, but Instagram will be like, somebody got married or baby announcement or whatever it may be, and they'll like their content will show at the top of my feed. So anything that, that's the type of content that people go crazy about, because everybody's saying congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. So Instagram takes that into consideration. So any type of like spike in engagement, whatever it may be, from comments, likes, you know, even like, I don't think based on certain posts that Instagram is able to see whether that drove to somebody liking or clicking the link in your bio, but any type of spike in engagement will definitely boost your content within the algorithm. Let's see. Let's answer two more. Oh, Kelly, can anyone do swipe up on stories now, or do you have to have a large following to access that feature? Kelly, you have to have either 10,000 followers to swipe up, or you have to be verified. It's either one or the other. You can be verified with less than 10,000 followers, but you have to you have to be verified in order to have the swipe up feature if you don't have 10,000 followers already. I think it's a little bit easier to try to get the 10,000 followers and getting verified. I mean, Instagram is so selective on their verification process. And for those of you who are asking on how do you get verified, you can actually apply for it on your app. If you go to your settings and you go to your account, you'll see there is a button for request verification, and it's kind of like a form that Instagram gives you, where you'll put your name, your full name, what you're known as, and then you select a category for your account, be it like sports, government, music, business, brand, organization, and then you have to attach a photo ID. So your name on your Instagram has to match your photo ID, and that's how you get verified. Oh, sorry, that's not how you get verified. That's how you apply to get verified. But it is really, really, really hard to get verified. Same, Bethany. I applied twice, and yeah, there was no give at all. Okay, let's see. Oh, this was a good question. Daphne, how frequently does the algorithm change? Here's the thing, social media is constantly changing. This is based on Instagram's definition of what their algorithm is as of November last year. I would definitely, I don't feel like it's changed, but Instagram is constantly changing. Social media is constantly changing. We have to like constantly move with it. But you have to, yeah, like Jesse said, you have to like, if it's possible, doing like an alert so you can be notified when the algorithm changes. That's good to do. Oh my goodness, I lost the question. Let's see. Oh, oh my goodness, I really lost your question. It was a good question. Lost your question. Somebody had mentioned on using a Google alert to like notify you if like the algorithm has changed or not. That's really good. But also keep up with the Instagram blog, the press blog. They post all their updates on there, so it's really worth knowing on there. But also, you know, staying up to date with like Mashable. We try to stay up to date with everything on the Planoly blog, so make sure that you're always staying up to date with the Planoly blog. Mashable, but definitely Instagram press blog or the Facebook newsroom. They'll talk about everything there. Oh my goodness, I completely lost your question. Now it's going to answer. I can't stop the question now. Darn. Okay. Man, okay. Lost the question. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next one. I'll answer one more question. And again, if I'm not able to answer all your questions, there's literally 114 questions on here. But please leave your IGDM handles. I'll try to answer if I can. And if not, email me or follow me at Code of Conduct on Instagram, or DM us on Planoly, at Planoly on Instagram, and we'll try to answer your questions. There's a lot of you guys. It's probably the most attended webinar we've ever had. So thanks everybody for joining. I'll answer one more question. Jamila, can you do a webinar engaging the webinar of the Planoly influencers in the future? Yeah, we can definitely do that. We actually do workshops here in Austin for influencers and small businesses, but we can definitely do a webinar about that. Thank you, Laura, for sharing the link for Instagram Press. Oh, actually, let me stop sharing because I realized I've been sharing the screen this entire time. Oh, wait. Hashtags in the comments or post and caption. I feel like you should go ahead and post it in the caption. When you post immediately, I feel like that's what gets thrown into the algorithm. So you want to go ahead. I personally do that. I put like the little dots and then I post the hashtags within the post. I don't like to do it in the caption because I don't know whether or not that's going to go ahead and be considered within the algorithm. So, are there algorithmic or oh, this was a really good question. Are there algorithmic or statistical reasons to have a branded grid, i.e. all pro shots are the same color scheme? So basically, so with Instagram actually wants you to use more organic photos, so not like professional shots. They want more people to use like off the cuff, like Instagram, like iPhone only type photos. So the more pro shots, I've noticed that those actually don't perform as well. Like any studio shots that are like very, very edited and super, super professional don't really do so well on Instagram. I think it's different for certain niches, like especially like photographers. They might have like a lot of success in that because that's their niche and like photographers follow photographers. But usually people want to see more organic, like stuff that you can shoot immediately that looks beautiful off of Instagram or off of iPhone. So yeah, using like really studio, like highly edited, super professional edited shots, I wouldn't say that's like the best thing. But you also want to make sure that your grid looks cohesive. In terms of like color scheme, I do want to go ahead and say like you should try to do that. Just making sure that it looks cohesive. Like whatever you've set for your brand, you want to make sure that it does look good. Because for me, especially if I do have, like for example, I got an ad on Instagram stories the other day of this like bedding brand, and I saw their photos on my stories and I was like, oh, this brand looks interesting and I'm in the market for bedding. Like, okay. I went to their feed and their feed was beautiful. It was beautifully created, like the same color scheme. And that was the first time I had seen their grid. So I went ahead and gave them a follow because right off the bat, their grid was kind of like a resume of what I was to expect of their brand. And I went ahead and gave them a follow. They like sucked me in because their Instagram ad worked, and I like followed them because their feed was beautiful. So especially if you are doing Instagram ads, you want to make sure that your feed is beautiful for anybody who lands on your page for the first time, and you're kind of like setting that good impression. So definitely, while we're doing that. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys, that I can't answer all of your questions. Also, Johnny, I know you mentioned Linktree, but we actually do that with, we have a tool for that as well, where you can make your Instagram clickable. You can drive more people back to your site, and it's not just like 5 links like Linktree does. Like, we make your entire Instagram clickable. So if you go to the Planoly Instagram and you click the link in our bio, our entire feed is clickable. Refinery29 uses us as well for that. So it is called Shop Link. It is an additional feature. And if you go to your settings, you can definitely learn more about that. But thanks again, guys. I'm so sorry went over and I can't answer all your questions, but you guys all had amazing questions. I'll try to answer, if not DM you, I'll try to go ahead and email you. But thank you all for joining. Again, this webinar will be live on Friday on our YouTube channel, so make sure to subscribe, youtube.com/Planoly. We'll also have a blog recap on the Planoly blog, along with like notes and everything, like kind of like the cliff notes, so you don't have to like stick for the whole hour and a half. But again, we'll be live again next month, last Tuesday of next month of June. And again, if there's anything that you would like for us to cover next month, just go ahead and DM at Planoly on Instagram or email me. We're all ears. And thanks, guys. Hope we answered a few questions. And I hope that you guys are feeling a little bit more at ease with the algorithm and not hating it as much. Maybe we can go ahead and start creating a little bit better content. So tag us in your posts. We want to see how you're, allowing this webinar to help create your content a little bit better moving forward. So thanks, guys. And we'll see you next month. Bye.